The next guy coming up, last of the Chicago comics. He lives here in California now. One of my good friends, one of the original Canaquillas. You can catch his special on YouTube, Miscellaneous Brown. Everyone give it up for Erick Esteban.
Put no coughing out of your mouth. Way too paranoid for threats. Hey, let's get it, bro. EOT, the money, power, respect. The last one is better. Say there's a lot of goofies for the check. I mean, I hope them sentiments are like, my temperament bipolar, I choose violence. Okay, let's get it up. It's time for him to prove that he's a problem. Niggas clicking up, but cannot be legit. No 40 water, tell him, yeah, get up with me. Fuck sneak this and first play the shooter.
I'm sorry. You guys been following this Kendrick Drake?
Yes.
Okay, how many Filipinos out here like hip hop? Okay, if Drake can't say the N-word, then we can't either. Okay, guys? Just making sure. Let's hear it for the comments that you just saw. My Chicago friends, Leah, Ava, and Mark Bond. They opened for me on my special in Chicago. It was a special time for me, but I don't like doing shows with Mark. Especially Filipino shows. Because that shit, it's like a bad example for everybody else. All the other comics. Like, if my mom was in the audience and she saw Mark doing the set, she'd be like, look at him, he's a nurse too, besides a comic. Why cannot you do that too? You can have disposable income. You don't have to always ask for me. God, I'm fucking like Ken Jeong. Look at Ken Jeong. He can host that show, but he's also a doctor. Oh, you see? Why did you major in English? Putang ina, you already know how to speak English. Filipino parents are hard to impress, man. They are hard to impress. Like, I told my mom and dad about my special, Miscellaneous Brown. You guys should watch that. Miscellaneous Brown. It's on YouTube, produced by 4x3 Productions, national comedy production. Like, for real, it's like Miscellaneous Brown. Watch that shit, please. But I filmed that in Chicago. I went back to my hometown, and Mark and Leah and Mitch, everybody opened up for me. It was the first time at this particular venue, Lincoln Lodge, that they had an all-Filipino lineup. First time in the history, right? Sold out show. Standing ovation at the end. Told my mom all this. You know what she said to me? Was Jokoy there? Maybe one day I'll be my mom's favorite Filipino-American comic. Don't all that shit. You know that's just real. You know you gotta be famous to impress your parents. For real, like, my Filipino parents, they keep you humble. For real, even when you do good shit, they keep you humble. Like my mom, she's like, oh, is Jokoy there? Because he's much bigger than you. He probably doesn't have to ask his mom for money. Like your friend Mark. Maybe you should have been a nurse also. No, but like, how many, do we have any cannabis smokers in the audience? Because like Mitch alluded to, we host a podcast called the Canaquillas. Because we are your cannabis older brothers. We will guide you and hold your hand and... No, for real, because I realized that okay, because I'm turning 50 years old this year. I'm turning 50. But when I turned 40, I was having a party with my parents at the house, and I went to the alley in the garage to smoke a joint, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing? What am I doing? I'm a grown-ass man. This is my house. Why the fuck am I sneaking a joint in the alley of my fucking house? What am I doing that for? So then the first one I told my dad, because my dad was like, you know, he's from the street. He's like, you know, I sold cigarettes in the square in the village. So he's from the street, you know what I mean? So I knew that I could tell him. I was like, Dad, I smoke weed. I smoke weed all the time. He's like, you know what? I smoke weed. I smoked cigarettes when I was 6 years old. in the Philippines. My mom gave me a bottle and then a cigarette. That's how we do in the Philippines. If you enjoy it, go ahead, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't give a shit. That was my dad. I was like, oh, cool. But my mom, I was scared to tell my mom. I was scared because my mom in the 80s, she was like brown Nancy Reagan. You know what I mean? Like, just say no. Just say no, you're going to die. You will die if you try it, you're going to die. So I was scared, I didn't want to tell her because, you know, I'm paranoid, I don't want to tell my mom that, you know, I smoke weed. But then I'm like, fuck, I think I'm going to tell her. I'm like, Mom, I smoke weed every day. Multiple times a day. In fact, I'm Filipino Snoop Dogg, Mom. And you know what she said? Can you get me some? My mom does edibles now all the time. She does edibles to sleep. No, but for real, like, real tip, my mom's a 2-time cancer survivor, and it helps her to get her appetite on, helps her relax. Because cannabis is my medicine. For real, like, I say it on the podcast all the time. I say, this shit makes my brain move right. That's all it is. And it also makes me feel real good, and we like to party with weed. No, but I love weed so much that I started learning how to grow weed. Yeah, no, because I live in LA, so I went to this dispensary and I bought a clone. Bought a clone on April 1st. It's like, oh. And I'm training it, cultivating it, you know, for like 2-3 weeks. I'm like Mr. Miyagi in the back catching flies with chopsticks around it and shit. You know, I'm taking care of this plant. I'm loving this plant, putting my love into this plant, and maybe the love that I put in this plant will come back, and I can smoke that love later on, right? I was happy. I was so happy to be putting this. And then 420 came along, and I woke up with an uneasy feeling, and I went outside to check on my plant, and it was a stick. All the leaves had been chewed off or ripped off. It was like just a stick. It was like it was totally destroyed. And then I looked in the corner of the backyard, and my pit bull had a fucking leaf sticking out the side of that bitch's mouth. And I'm Filipino, and I've never wanted to eat a dog. But I swear to God, I was gonna make that bitch an edible. For real, I was so mad. For real. Whew. You feel me, right? I mean, I was about to eat that dog. I was about to see what my dad was talking about. Dog is good. You can eat it. It's good for you. It's protein. No, but I'm trying to learn how to speak Tagalog. How many can Filipinos make some noise? How many Filipinos who were born here can speak Tagalog? Make some noise. See how much quieter it got? See, I'm trying to learn how to speak Tagalog because there's this dude online. His name is Tagalog Kurt. Oh, y'all know who Tagalog Kurt is? You better unfollow that fucker. No, for real. He steals Filipino jokes and then reclassifies them and turns them into Tagalog stuff with a white face on. I got into his comments and I was like, fucking colonizer, you just stop talking about, stop it, colonizer, stop colonizing our shit. And then he slipped into my DMs and that motherfucker said, hey, I took a 23andMe and I'm 1/3 Filipino. Get your 23andMe Filipino ass away from me. No, but I wanted, because this motherfucker got 200,000 followers on Instagram. Or so if any of you Filipinos are out here following Tagalog Kurt, please take out your phones and unfollow that motherfucker right now. For real. Because I'm about to give you guys a Tagalog lesson right here at MicDrop Comedy for UBEWORLD. Who wants to learn some Tagalog? Like Mitch was talking about how many titas are in the audience. Titas, make some noise. Y'all nasty ladies, make some noise. Because there's only Filipina titas will say some shit if they gotta make a mistake or they trip or they're upset at something. They're the only people in the world that will be, ay, poking ng kabayo. What's your name? Hallie? Lovely white lady. I just want to ask you, if you're upset or you tripped or you made a mistake, you wouldn't be like, oh my God, horse vagina. That's why it's hard to learn how to speak Tagalog, because it don't make any sense to me. You guys be screaming horse vagina or buki ng baboy. Fuck. Why are you screaming pig pussy for? What's wrong with you? See, it's weird. But I wanted to have a phrase that I say fast. You know, like, because when you say something fast, people think you can speak the language, right? Like everybody in here can say, ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Everybody can say that. Right? You can ask where the library is in Spain, I'm sure, right? Allie? Everybody can say that, ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Everybody thinks, oh my God, that motherfucker speaks Spanish. But I wanted a phrase like that in Tagalog. And I remembered my aunt, I used to have a really mean tita, and she used to always threaten me when I wouldn't do what she wanted. Like one time I wouldn't finish my food in the Chinese restaurant, and she threatened me. She would say this phrase. She said, "Bugbukita wala kang piano, tutug do re mi fa sol la ti do." And I memorized it phonetically. And I asked my dad, I said, Dad, what does that mean? He said, well, say it for me. Say it for me. Bugbukita wala kang piano, tutug do re mi fa sol la ti do. Oh, well, that means I'm going to hit you so hard that even though you don't have a piano, it's gonna make the sound do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Y'all thought that was some Sound of Music shit, right? But now you guys all have a nice Tagalog lesson from Erick Esteban, and you can threaten your Filipino friends. And thank you very much. I'm Erick Esteban.